Hey, I'm Connor McKnight, and welcome into Road to the Rate, the White Sox podcast that focuses on player development, the minor leaguers that are making the strides to get to the big leagues sooner rather than later in a lot of different cases. On this show, I'm pretty pumped about this one. I don't know if you've noticed, but Birmingham Barons just almost refuse to lose ball games, and one of the things that has gotten them to this point has been the pitching. Whether it's Tanner McDougal or Shane Murphy or a whole lot of arms in that Birmingham Barons rotation and bullpen, they've been outstanding. We've got Tanner and we've got Shane coming on the show today. Tanner's one of the best prospects in the White Sox system, making a whole bunch of strides. And Shane Murphy might just be the best pitcher in the White Sox system, maybe the best pitcher in 𝗶𝗟 that you've never heard of. Both of these conversations are amazing when it comes to how young pitchers develop, the things that they've been through, the stuff that they've gotten through to get them to where they are now and where they're looking to go. Really excited about today's episode. So, without any more waiting around, here is our interview with Tanner McDougal and Shane Murphy of the Birmingham Barons. All right, so it is our pleasure to be joined on Road to the Rate by Tanner McDougal, who is, I don't know, would you say rapidly rising up prospect lists? Would you say not as fast as you wanted? I mean, for White Sox fans right now, watching you pitch, especially at 𝗶𝗟 Birmingham, has been something else. You've had one heck of a season since being promoted. How have you felt about your season so far, man?
I mean, I've felt great. Coming in the season, this is kind of what my goal was to kind of get back on track. Obviously, last year I kind of had a rough one. Since I've been here, it's been kind of up and down. So I felt as if I needed to prove myself this year, and it's worked. And yeah, I'm just trying to keep banging the same nail into the wood.
I get that. I want to take fans back in case, they don't know your whole story. You're a 2021 draft pick of the White Sox. Tommy John shortly after getting drafted. So you get back into the swing of things in 2023 with some really good stuff, which you had shown in the draft process. But I kind of wanted to, what was that journey for you coming back into pitching competitively in 2023? Maybe that 6-month, 4-month run up into getting back into things.
Yeah, I'm extremely competitive. So coming back and not having everything and being a little timid to throw certain pitches made it really hard. Uh, and nobody talks about the part of TJ where it's coming back and getting back into the swing of things. They just think it's like, oh, you're good, go pitch, and it's not at all. Um, and some people they can do that. Some people it takes a year and then they're back in the swing of things. And my first year wasn't horrible, but I was more of a thrower rather than a pitcher. And then my second year I was trying to pitch, but was still not throwing strikes. And this year, I finally feel like I caught my stride and back into Tanner McDougal, which sucks that it took 2 years, but I mean, it is what it is, kind of.
In what way were you timid coming back in throwing certain pitches, like you said?
So when I blew out, I threw a curveball, felt it. It kind of zinged me, and that was kind of that. So coming back, I was very timid to throw it just because it was like, oh, I don't want that to happen again. Um, where my other stuff was fine. But my curveball's such a field pitch that it was just I couldn't necessarily find the feel for it all the time. There were some times when it was really good. There were some times when it was horrible. And at that point, I didn't have the slider, so it was fastball changeup, and my changeup was just too hard, and it was just getting hit. So it was just that the feel part of it just wasn't there yet.
The focus of the show here is player development. And we've talked with a lot of pitchers, and one of the things I try and point out as often as I can, whether we're on the TV broadcast or sidelines or whatever, is just how difficult coming back from Tommy John is for the individual pitcher, right? If you're 100% right, obviously you've been through it, that on the outside, we just go, oh, Tommy John, he's out for 12, 14, 16 months or whatever, he'll be back and just fine. The work to get back is grueling. Mentally, everybody tells me just how exhausting that is. Did you feel that a little bit? And how much did it help to have some guys to talk to about the process that had gone through it before?
Yeah, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, to be honest with you, truly. Although, as an 18-year-old, I needed it. I needed a year to go lift weights and get strong and kind of transform my body from 18-year-old high schooler that throws really hard to, 19-year-old, somewhat of a man coming into my first year of pro ball, my first full season. Um, I rehabbed with 𝗬𝗏𝗏 was down there. He had just had TJ when I rehabbed, and I was probably 6 or 8 months through at this point, and he was asking me questions, and it was like just being able to talk through people, like talk to people and talk through it with people, like makes it a lot better. Um, but at the same time, like rehab sucks. Everybody know rehab sucks. Everybody knows that everybody wants to be on the field. Like that's just the competitive nature of our sport. That's the competitive nature of us. We wouldn't be here if we weren't trying to be on the field at all times. So, um, the rehab process is not a fun one, but in the long run, it made me such a better person and such a better baseball player just because it made me, respect it more. It made me respect my body more and, taking care of it the right ways and just making sure you don't put yourself in that situation again.
I'm glad you're able to find that silver lining, man. So many guys have, and it's a struggle to find that too, right? I mean, it's not like that kind of clarity arrives to you right away. You've got to work to find that as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's a really long tunnel and there is a light at the end, but it's really, really, really hard to see the light at the end.
You have found, though, a very bright part of this tunnel, or are all the way through it, if I'm murdering this metaphor on the way in. But I wanted to ask about the last 2 years here for you with the White Sox, because Brian Bannister took over as the director of pitching at the beginning of 2024. And you've been here since, before Bannister got here and after. Wondered what you've noticed in terms of the whole kind of top-down pitching philosophy now that the White Sox have Banny at the top.
It's definitely changed. It's definitely more analytical, but it's also like they're explaining to us what it means when they get so analytical. Because again, we're all baseball players. Like we didn't go to school to study numbers and study how baseballs spin and what axis and how hard you throw it and all this stuff. So now it's a lot easier to kind of understand that language. Um, and Banny's been a huge help to me. I threw my first two bullpens in spring training in like early camp with Banny. And he kind of just gave me some cues that have kind of helped me the whole way through. And it's honestly helped me throw more strikes. And since then, I've just been kind of riding that and just feeling stuff out. I think I got a lot of confidence back last year. I think I was at probably the lowest confidence I've ever had in my career, just with how things went last year. Um, but just getting my confidence back made me such a better player. And it just made me like go out there and it's like it's the same game. I'm just facing, might be a little better hitter, might be a little older hitter, but like it's the same game. Just go out there and be you. Like your stuff's still really, really good.
Have you found yourself liking any of the stats, the spin access, the spin rate stuff that you've kind of been given here from the sabermetric staff or the analytic staff, or is it kind of like I have these things, let's hit these benchmarks and kind of keep it moving, in that kind of direction? How do you find yourself interacting with all that stuff now that you've got a good 2 years with it?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, throughout the high school stuff and everything, like I never had the TrackMan stuff. I never had all that. So like everybody would tell me I had Unreal Spin or whatever it might have been back then, but I didn't know what it meant. And I still don't know completely what it means. Obviously, like I understand it better now, but I don't think I have like a favorite metric or anything, honestly. I just go out there and I pitch, and if they say something's off and they can show me the iPad and show me, hey, this is what's going wrong, then I can make the adjustment. It's not really like I have like, oh, like, my front side pulled. That's why that one didn't spin at 3,500 or whatever it might have been, or that's why that slider was pulled and only spun at 1,800. Like it just that stuff I never try to get into because I think the numbers are numbers. And I think the human aspect is much better than numbers because if you don't feel right, odds are the pitch is not going to be right. And if you feel great, odds are the numbers on the pitch are going to be great.
And I would guess, I'm guessing here, but you're relatively early in your career. You're like we've talked about. You're coming back from Tommy John surgery not too long ago. Having some of the cameras show you, like, that didn't feel right, but I can't figure out exactly what it was. Mm-hmm. Now you can go look at any single pitch and any different point, and they can literally point to the spot and go, "Well, that was different than these last one. Could that be it?" Like, is that kind of how it works for you?
Yeah. I'm a visual learner. Even last week in Pensacola on Tuesday, didn't have my curveball, and the next day we went in, we talked about it on some video, and I was, doing some things that when I do those things, my curveball's not good, and it's very hard to control. And then obviously yesterday, and in my bullpen, just was like, all right, I'm gonna focus on this, and then my curveball automatically got better. So it's just like that type of stuff. Like if you can show me where I'm going wrong, odds are I can figure out what I need to do in my delivery or in my hand placement or the way that my hand comes out of the glove or the way I separate to combat that mistake.
You started this year in Winston-Salem, and the stuff was really good. Your walk rate was about where it's been since coming back from Tommy John surgery. Then, and this is where I think White Sox fans really kind of perk their ears up when it comes to you, you get promoted to AA on June 18th. You punch out 10 in your first start with the Barons. That's your first time going double-digit Ks in affiliated baseball. I would imagine at some point you struck out like 19 or something in a high school game. But what do you remember about that first outing with Birmingham? What was it that got you going the way it did? What was it like to arrive at AA?
Yeah, so I got here on Friday from Winston. I got called up on Thursday, got here, got to Montgomery, and it was just honestly watching them pitch. Montgomery's a really good team for the Rays. And watching them pitch, it's like everybody's going to give 6 or 7 innings scoreless, and, that's what it's going to take to win in this league. So I kind of just segued that into my thing. It's like, all right, let's just dominate the zone as much as possible. And, you'll be all right. I think sometimes in Winston, I would get carried away trying to chase strikeouts, possibly. And here it's just like I got 6 innings to get through. I'm gonna cram it down your throat. If you swing and miss, great. If you hit it, great. They're gonna catch it.
It's funny because the next question I've got on the list is your walk rate and that you've cut it from 5 per 9 to 2.4 per 9, like literally in half with the stuff you've got. And it says, this is my idiot notes, right? What coaching points at work have you put in to refine your command? And here you're talking about it and going, like, this is the mental aspect of the game, right? This is finding teammates who challenged you to do better and putting that into practice, it feels like. Is that the biggest thing in refining your command a little here?
Yeah, I would totally. I would agree with that. Just watching other people and, walks are gonna happen. It's a part of baseball. They're going to happen. Everybody walks people. But if you can, my goal really has been to no more than 1 or 2 walks a game. And in Winston, it was a little bit more than that. So I was a little frustrated with that. But at the same time, I was getting outs and I was getting out of innings. And again, like I said, walks happen. Like as long as those walks don't score, nobody's going to say anything to you. It's the problem when they start to score and they start to hurt you. But I think with the whole walk rate thing, like, it came to a point where it's like, all right, I'm in AA now. I know that if I walk them, they are now good enough to hurt me and do damage against me if I give them free bases. So it kind of just came down to a thing where it's like, I'm just not going to give you free bases. Like it became a game with myself. Anytime I get into a 3-1 or a 3-2 count, it's like, I am not going to walk you. I'm going to throw my best pitch in the zone until you either hit it at somebody, you get a hit, tip my cap, or I'm going to strike you out. And it's worked. Honestly, it's worked. It's just like, and I think that is when I'm at my best, is when it's like me against you, who's going to win? In my book, I'm going to win every time. Like, it's just the competitive nature. Like, I'm not going to give in and I'm not going to give you a freebie. Like, where I think sometimes in the lower levels, I would get mad at myself or other things would cause me to just waste pitches or give away pitches, where when I got here, it's like, you can't do that because they're going to hurt you and you're going to look horrible.
Has there been somebody or some buddies, plural, that have helped you kind of, I mean, it sounds like you've gone through a lot of self-realization here over the last, I don't know, call it 6-8 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Who's helped you on that process? Because speaking for myself, I can't do that all by myself. I would imagine that there have been people that have helped you and hipped you to what can work for you.
Yeah, I mean, my dad played, So I talk to my dad constantly. My dad was a pitcher with the Cardinals and the Orioles, so I talk to him all the time. My best friend's dad pitched with the Blue Jays and a few other teams in the big leagues, so I talk to them. Um, but also, I mean, teammates. You look at a Shane Murphy; he doesn't walk anybody. He does not walk anybody. And we don't ever really talk about it, but I watch how he goes about his business, and I watch even his catch play. Like his catch play is down to a T, which is honestly sick to watch. And like play catch with him is sweet because wherever he says it's going, it's going. But so like of course I talk to them, I talk to the other pitchers on the staff, but you know, talking to them was one thing, like you got to just do it. You know what I mean? Like the self-realization was there. It's like, okay, well, you realize what you got to do, and now you just got to go do it. And I think that was the biggest thing is I just put my head down and I was like, I'm going to commit to throwing as many strikes as I possibly can, and I'm not going to worry about, if I give up 4, 5, 6 hits because I can give up no hits or one hit, but I can walk six and punch out six and give up 2 runs. But that's not what I want to do.
Right.
Like I want to, punch out 4, 5, 6, no walks, give up a few hits. Like that's that. I'm never gonna be mad at that. But it's when I feel like I beat myself by walking people, that's when I get frustrated.
You're going through something right now that is pretty commonplace around baseball. Your innings are kind of being downshifted some as we get toward the end of the season. And I just by looking at you and having talked to you the last 15 minutes, I would guess that I don't want to speak for you, but I guess that's probably pretty hard to deal with. But at the same time, you got to keep the long game in mind. How have you handled that? What steps have you taken? Who have you talked to about it? Because like it just you want to go out there for 7, and right
Yeah.
now it's 4, right? And it's just it is what it is. That's the beast.
Yeah. I get it. I get it, and I'm glad that they're putting this stuff into our programs because they're trying to keep us healthy, and I get it. But it's so frustrating when you come out of a game in the third inning like, hey, you only got 3 innings the rest of the year. You go the rest of the year? They're like, yeah. And you're like, what? Okay. So, obviously it sucks. The competitor in me wants to go 8 innings every game and not give up a run and punch out 35 guys. But, it's part of it. You got to just deal with it. And it's honestly like, it's weird because work days are super short. You
Yeah.
pitch for 45 minutes and then it's like, all right, you're done for the week. Like, good job. But it's just kind of helped me hone in on some like other things, which it's like, why not? You know what I mean? At first, of course, I was mad. Like, like, what do you mean I'm on an inning limit? Like, I'm fine. I feel great. But then when you take a step back and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna use this time to, get even better at my craft than I, have been doing, or just take it as one, a compliment because they care about you, and two, like just like hey, it's just more time to get better at what you do. You can have a little bit heavier pens. You can work on things a little bit more. And then, when you have your 3 innings, go out there and dominate. Like nobody wants to be on an inning limit because we're all competitors, but it is what it is. And if that's what keeps me healthy and in the long run helps me the most, then so be it. I'll do it.
I would imagine that whether it's the White Sox, and I know this one for sure, or any other organization, you would rather have a pitcher in your org who hates being put on an inning limit than a guy who's like, all right, cool, 4, and I'm done for the day,
Yeah, totally. I mean, if that's the guy, then he's just a bullpen guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, and if I got to go to the bullpen to, get a shot, perfectly fine with it. But I'm a starter at heart. I've always been a starter. So it's like, I want to start, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
So we didn't plan this way. This is our final question of the interview. And thanks so much for the time, man. You've been
Yeah.
great. We didn't plan this way, but we had set up our interview for the second part of the show with Shane Murphy, who I'm catching
Yeah.
on to is your catch partner. What is like sing the praises of Shane Murphy? Because White Sox fans have been seeing this ERA. We do this little, the segment on the prospects during the games. And every time I do the show, it's like, hey, Shane's ERA is dropped again. Like it's now 0.5. You can barely see it. What is it about him that makes him so good? How good a teammate is he?
He's a great teammate. We actually aren't catch play partners, but I've played catch with a few times just because,
Okay.
like, some days, whatever. But Um, Shane's such a hard worker. Shane's work ethic is absurd. Watching Shane in the weight room, you're like, this guy's a maniac. Like, just gets after it, works his butt off, like, and he's just so everything he does, there's a point behind it. Everything he does is so calculated. He understands what he has to do to get every lineup out, every hitter out. And like even the other day, after my outing, I went up to him like, "Hey, like, what do you got?" He's like a second extension of like a coach, just because he sees baseball so well and he's been around baseball so well. Like I can't even praise him enough. Like the guy just gets it, and he's really good at what he does.
That's awesome, man. Shane's coming up next. For those of you watching, this is Tanner McDougal, and I think you're going to see him in the big leagues pretty soon. Tanner, thank you so much for the time, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next guest on Road to the Rate is Shane Murphy, starter for the Birmingham Barons. You know, the team that's won more games than anybody else in AA baseball. And Shane has the lowest qualified ERA in all of AA. Congratulations on that. How's it feel to be on the
Thank
run,
you.
man?
It feels good. It's been a fun year. There's obviously the great thing about this game and numbers is they're changing with every outing, so I try not to get too caught up in it. And one outing, it's either going up or down, and there's rarely ever staying the same. So it's always back to the drawing board and back to work and trying to develop and give yourself the best opportunity for success heading into the outing. But it's been a fun year. Learned a lot, grown a lot. Just trying to find what works for you and ride it out and keep development on the back end of that.
I want to focus a little bit on your last year before we get into 2025, because
Yep.
as we talk about development on this podcast, so much of the things that came before matter when it comes to what you're doing now. So last year you begin at Winston-Salem and mostly pitched the whole year there. You got bumped up to Charlotte twice, one in
Yep.
June and once toward the end of the season for like 2 outings. You don't often see that.
Yeah.
What was last year all like for you? How did those Charlotte promotions kind of feature into what was going on?
Um, the first Charlotte one in June was like hey, we need a spot starter. I'm a strike thrower. Go out there, just pitch. It'll be an experience. Just throw strikes. They were, I think, just bouncing guys up and down the way the schedule worked. That happens. Like we need someone to eat 3, 4 innings. One out there, obviously adrenaline out of my mind. Can't throw a strike in the first inning. Terrible performance in the first inning. I think I gave up 6 runs in the first inning on like 40 pitches. It was brutal. And then I was like, all right, well that just happened. And they're like, hey, like you threw a lot of pitches. How do you feel? I was like, I feel good. The pitching coach at the time was like, just deep breath, just your strike thrower, just trust your stuff in the zone. So then the next 3 innings, I literally did just that. And it was just like the outing stat wise is already ruined. So let's just go out there and see what we got. And that was like I just attacked with my mix, attacked the heart of the zone, and the next 3 innings fared pretty well, quick outs, efficient, which is my game. And I was like, okay, like it's a different level and there's harder stuff, but it's still baseball. Like controlling the count, being in the zone, changing speeds, and trusting your stuff is still evident, and that really propelled the second half. And then the second time at the end of the year when I went up for like the last 2.5 weeks, didn't know that was when the high A season ended. So I pitched the last game in Winston, the last regular season game of the year. Obviously going into it thinking the season was going to be done, and then after the game, they're like, hey, you're going to Charlotte. Me and Tyler Davis went to Charlotte for like the last 2.5 weeks, 2 series and change. There was a few doubleheaders in there. Um, and just from that, just remembering what happened in June, I just took that confidence. I was like, I felt like I was throwing the ball well at the end of the year, better than I did in the month of July in Winston. So I was like, just keep rolling that into Charlotte and see what's what. And I put up a few consecutive zeros, 6 or 7 innings, I think. And that was really just a huge confidence boost. I think that was the biggest like unspoken thing that like I didn't even talk about myself like amongst family or friends, but like just in my own head, I was like the confidence in the off season going into spring training. Like I know it's 7 innings, but just 7 innings there against those experienced the lineups. You're facing guys in the big leagues like AAA, big league bounce backs, guys with experience and have done it all in the game, other than be an established big leaguer. But up to that point, you can do it all in the minor league levels. So I was like, I fared pretty well here to end the year at the back end of the year. Like just the confidence in what I learned in 7 innings felt like 30 innings in high, just like experience wise, like facing those guys. So I think that was a super big confidence boost mentally for me. And the whole season as a whole was up and down, working on new pitches. I started Winston last year, throwing the ball really, really well. I think I had I don't know the exact number, but I started the year, like my first month and a half in Winston was like really, really good, like kind of on par with how this year's been going. And I had one terrible outing. I gave up like 9 or 10 earnings in one inning, just didn't have anything. Every pitch was up, didn't control counts. They were all over me. Um, and it's just, you look at the numbers and you're like, man, that's why you don't get caught up in the numbers, because I went from throwing a sub 2 through 35 innings to start the year to I'm at a 4 something ERA. And it's like, that's out the work, or that's out the window. Let's pitch, develop, keep getting outs, and get back to my thing. And managed and competed the rest of the year. And then the Charlotte outings really just gave me a lot of confidence going into the offseason.
This year, you ran a stretch of 7 games with 40 innings from late June into mid-August, where the ERA was .90, and anytime it starts with a point, you love it. 28 strikeouts, 7 walks, 4 earned run, a 174 batting average against. I know you said you can't get caught up in numbers so much, and I completely understand that. But they do tell us kind of like what you were able to get done or control in a particular stretch of outings. Is there any one set of numbers that from that stretch where you go, yeah, that's what I was trying to accomplish, and here's how it showed up in some of the stats?
I think more so just the walk rate and count leverage. Obviously, 4 walks and 40 innings is like, that's where I'm trying to be. That means I'm not giving any freebies. I'm not an overpowering stuff guy. Like, I don't want to give away any 90 feet. I want every out. And no matter what, you have 7 defenders behind you. Like, put the ball in play. Even I know we get into advanced metrics and expected numbers and all this, but baseball's still baseball. Sometimes they hit a ball super hard right at a guy. And this past week, I gave up 3 infield swinging bunts, and that kind of went against me. And I didn't make the pitch with runners in scoring position, and I got tagged for 3 earnings. So it's like stuff like that where it's like, I think just not giving away a 90 feet, trusting the defense, and just the walk rate's really good. But I think all of it comes down to just pitch to pitch execution, more so process than like a number. Like, just slowing the game down, keeping the game super slow, pitch to pitch focus, treating every pitch like it's the most important pitch that the day has, and taking it from there on. So just finding that rhythm and tune and the heart rate, and just being a consistent mindset and like tempo out on the mound is the biggest thing I felt like I've really harnessed in this year, and just being the same guy. And through that is also the prep and the work week leading into it, just with confidence, knowing I'm not sped up. There's no anxiety going into the starts, like just the reports. And when you're so prepared, and I feel like I prepare very well, especially this year, I've taken a huge jump. It's just, all right, let's just focus on each pitch and go from there. So I think that's the overall thing. But in terms of stat that you put out, like 4 walks and 40 innings is a rate I want to be around for sure.
I'm glad you brought up the pregame prep, because we talked with your teammate Tanner McDougal earlier on the podcast, and he pointed out, I was like, hey, Tanner, how great a teammate is Shane? And he was like, oh, awesome. And he was like, the thing that makes him so impressive is the stuff that he works on going into his start. How has your pregame planning changed? Who's helped you get to where you are, and where does the drive to do all that? I mean, because basically it's homework. Where does the drive come to do all that homework?
I think the drive to just want to be good. I think that gives me my best opportunity to succeed, and I understand I've had success off of it, so why not stick with it? And I truly think pitching is a game of like, stuff is stuff, and at this level, everyone's talented. Hitters are talented, pitchers are talented. I don't have outlandish stuff, but I'm here, so I have to have something in my arsenal is good enough to at least get me to here. So I know that, like, baseline 101 is like, I know I'm good enough to be here, else I wouldn't even have been given the opportunity. So from there, it's just maximizing what I have and what I can put out. So I've always just felt like preparing is going to give me the best opportunity. Like, how can I get a hitter out? Whether it's watching swings, I do a lot of like scouting report stuff, obviously, like Mondays. So like this past month, yesterday was like a big scouting report day. Like, we're playing Rocket City, who we've seen a bunch this year, so I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do. But still, just I always like watching the last time they faced a lefty with similar arsenal to me, and then understanding their approach and just the small things in a game, what their approach is with the guy in running scoring position. Are they more aggressive with guys in running scoring position? A passive hitter, just everything you can think of. I try to be on top of it. I think that's a great way to try to be great. And it's cliche, but every great person, every great athlete you talk about, all they talk about is preparation. And ever since a little kid, that's something I've been infatuated with is what's the edge I can have to propel myself to try to be great. And I think I just take pride in preparing and knowing when I'm on the mound, it's just a zen feeling kind of like I've prepared, I'm calm, I know what pitch to throw, I know what I'm looking for out of the hitter in terms of reading hitters, what the situation in the scoreboard indicates the game, how the game should go, and have an answer for that. So I think just preparation. Honestly, my whole life I've always tried to be super prepared. Like even in high school, I remember like going to other high school games and watching other teams and stuff like that just ahead of a start. So it's just something I've been infatuated with for sure.
Who's helped you learn how to prepare? Because I know you've spoken about your brother quite often. You know, obviously a guy who pitched in the major league, still pitching here in the KBO, I believe, and that's actually got to be really helpful to have an older presence like that. But I'm wondering too, like I'd love for you to tell me about how your brother has kind of influenced you, but also who in the White Sox organization, from a dev standpoint, has like or how have they kind of helped you refine how you prep, since it's such a big part of who you are and how you're pitching.
I think John, our pitching coach here in AA, Cove, and then he was with me last year in Winston. I started doing it a lot in 𝗨, and in 𝗨, it's kind of like we don't like giving scouting reports because in Kannapolis, like it's still development, right? Like even like our coordinators and whatnot, like I'm sure they love that I prepare, but like at the same time, their job is to maximize my talent and whatnot. So it's like a fine give and take. And then once you get to AA, obviously it's more about I'd say results, because you're always working on things at the lower level, especially 𝗨. But I kind of did it on my own a little in 𝗨, and then last year I dove more into it. And then this year with John, we have great catchers too. We have catchers who take a lot of pride in calling a game and being prepared for a lineup. So that it's been a group effort for sure. But me and John have definitely dove into it. He's helped me. You're always changing what you want to prepare for too. Like, am I looking at what pitches they do the most damage off of, what counts, and it's kind of like a grab and pull and figure out what works for you. So I think what I've used to prepare has changed over the 3 years, kind of just on my own feeling and what I felt has given me the most confidence. And obviously that happens through success. Like, all right, that worked for me. Let's keep it going. But I think John's really, really good. Our catchers are really, really good at preparation. And then it's just, you play the same game in the minors, you play the same team 5, 6 days in a row. So it's like, if I'm pitching on a weekend, I have 4 days to watch a lineup. And what else am I going to do? Like, that's my job, is to be in the dugout, be a good teammate, and watch the game and understand what's going on. So I think it's just a collective effort, but John and our catching staff here are all very bought into. So I think that's really amplified how much I take pride in it and what I can get out of it for sure.
You're the younger brother of a big leaguer, a guy who's made it. How has that been? How has that been meaningful for you?
It's everything in terms of like since I was in high school. Like he was drafted and signed out of high school when I was in sixth grade. So from early on, it's like, all right, that's what older bro's doing. Like that's what you're gonna do too. It's just how it works, and learn from him. He's been through so much, more so adversity. He's been injury plagued his whole career. He's had some of the craziest injuries and worst luck he could possibly have. So just seeing his resilience, his passion and dedication, he's just really been a leader more so by example. Early on when I was in high school, like understanding hard work, preparation, taking care of the body, and just being resilient, like mindfulness. And then in terms of pitching, like I've watched him when I'm in junior college and I'm watching him on TV in the big leagues, and I'm watching his team play every night because he was a bullpen arm. So whether it's the Blue Jays or the Nats, like I'm watching games every night. So you just get reps naturally, just watching big league games, watching how big league pitchers get big league hitters out. And then when he gets thrown in the game, it's like, all right, I have a pretty good idea of how this is going to go. Like we fell behind with a heater. Like stuff like that, or we got ahead with a breaking ball. Like, the answers are right in the game. Like, the game's telling you everything you need to learn and everything you need to know. So just accumulating reps of just watching a lot of professional baseball through him and understanding what works and what doesn't at the highest level. And that's all played a huge part in it. And we're best friends, so we communicate a lot. There's a lot of baseball talk. There's a lot of hard love, a lot of truth given. It's no matter what, we both make sure to give light on the positive and understand how hard this job is and the grind and how hard we work at it. But we also are very quick to make sure we understand where each other can improve. A lot of hard love. And that's how my dad is too, and that's good. It's the truth hurts sometimes, but the truth is the truth. So we're just all about getting better.
That's
And
awesome.
then, yeah. And it's like the community. Like my brother's 4 or 5 best friends he's played baseball with all since club ball, and little league, and then in high school, like just a lot of guys who've played in professional baseball and like endless amounts of off seasons just being around in the living room and just talking ball, and you just, if you pay attention and listen, you're gonna get all the answers. So a lot of little brother latching on by the hip and just trying to be a sponge.
There's nothing like having your brother as your best friend, man. That's the
No,
best thing in the
nothing.
world. That's
Yeah.
awesome. One of the things that has kind of come up a few times in talking with some of the guys on the development staff with the White Sox and some other pitchers as well is the idea of a productive catch play. And I think for a lot of fans, for a lot of people watching this, even for me, right, like getting started in this and kind of understanding where we're going here, like you watch pitchers play catch on the left field foul line or whatever it is, and you go, oh, they're just warming up. They're just throwing back and forth to one another. That is far from what's going on.
Yeah.
I feel like you're the guy to talk about this, considering how planful you are. What goes into catch play? How does it? What are your goals out here? What are you guys actually working on and trying to do? Just as it looks like you're just throwing the ball back and forth like everybody does in the park.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing about being a pitcher is you have limited reps, right? Like we can't throw all day. We only get 100 pitches in a game, so be it. Like it's all about health prevention. So I think just being mindful and present and like completely where your feet are, like maximizing everything you can get out of every rep because you're only allowed so many. Obviously, injuries, taking care of the body, arm. So like a hitter, granted, you can get rotational oblique injuries too as a hitter, but like hypothetically, a hitter can take as many swings as he wants and like get a lot more reps. Whereas a pitcher, like you got to monitor your throws, your intent level. So just going into the catch play completely focused on what you're trying to do, having a goal. I think every pitcher, I shouldn't speak for all pitchers, but I feel like a lot of pitchers going into every catch play, you have a goal for that day, whether it's a mechanic, a feel thing, or you want to work, you just want to get reps on a pitch just to find feel. So it varies day to day adjustments. It varies based on what you did well in catch play yesterday versus what you felt like you were lacking. So it's very day to day, but I'd say just being intent with what you're trying to get out of your work every single day. And it's because we get such limited reps, it's like you have to be all in mentally and all in with where your feet are. You can't be thinking about the lift you got in 30 minutes or the lift you did or who you're pitching against. Like I have to be where my feet are and understand that this is the main thing why I'm here. So just being very intentful in the catch play, I think, is everything. Just having a game plan and at least pick one thing going into catch play every day and understand you're working on that one thing every single day.
Being in the White Sox system right now as a pitcher has got to be some kind of feeling, because whether it's guys like Tanner McDougal, who we talked to earlier in the show, or you, or Hagen Smith, or Noah Schultz, the list goes on and on and on. Christian Opper, right? I mean, like there are a lot of really good arms in this system, and the development marks, like you guys have all been improving in such like kind of eye-popping ways throughout. What is it like being part of this whole, kind of top-down group of kind of cutting-edge development stuff and wins for all of you guys?
Yeah, and it's crazy. You say, and there's so many more names that are
so many more names.
So many names. Then you have guys like, we have a whole AAA / big league rotation on the IL this year due to bad luck and like injuries in spring, and like TJ, like the depth is unreal, but I think that's good. Like it motivates you. It's a culture builder. Obviously, we all want to be to the big leagues. We all understand there's only 13 jobs for an arm and the big league staff. Like that's tough, sure, and we're all competing against each other to an extent. But like in terms of a day to day, like that's what makes you better, and that's the culture that's getting built. So we're adding value to the organization and to the team, even through the business side of it. And you're just trying to better yourself. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, especially in Birmingham, getting able to the night you're not pitching, getting able to watch someone take the mound and you know they're going to be good, and it's like, oh, this guy has one good stuff. He competes his tail off, and he's a good person and easy to cheer for. Like it's just really fun watching games day in and day out. So the pitching is a lot of fun. Bullpens are fun. Spring training's fun. Watching everyone throw a pen, watching everyone throw a side. The talent is there. I think the culture is there and what we believe in. So it just makes everyone better by committee, and you are who you surround yourself with. So
Yeah.
it just elevates everyone's play.
Shane, can't thank you enough for the time, man. This has been
Thank you.
fantastic. I know Sox fans are going to love getting to know you a little bit. Can't wait to watch your next outing, too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
That's going to do it for us here on Road to the Rate. Thank you so much to Tanner McDougal and Shane Murphy for hopping on the show today. Truly appreciate their time. Watch a Barons game when those two are, just watch Barons games for the most part, but watch when those two are pitching. They're great. Thanks to you for watching and listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks here on Road to the Rate.